Before we get started today, I wanted to invite you to support the podcast by liking, sharing, and leaving a review. I also really want to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment or a topic you'd like for us to cover, please send it my way. I'm all ears. Your input really helps to shape the show, so please sound off in the comments, or if you'd like to reach me directly, I will leave my email address in the show notes. Do not hesitate to get in touch. I am your host, Chelsea Carolyn, and today we are diving into sustainable fitness with Evelyn Harper. I had one other question about, I guess, this world, and something that a lot of people deal with is just being so busy. So, say we've dealt with our energy levels and we want to get to the gym, we want to eat well, we want to fit everything in. Do you think meal prepping is an appropriate tool to have in your tool belt for that?
Yeah. So similarly, like I have clients that have kids that have, they're lawyers, they're this, they've got a thousand.
Hmm.
So I'm sitting here like, whoa, you have a ton of stuff going on. I have no idea how you would become fit other than you have to get organized when you're not doing all of the things that you have to do.
Yeah.
Um, so and I would say that I keep my mind. I mean, I might not physically be doing all that they're doing, but mentally my mind is there. So
Yeah.
I get the chaos of like, okay, I've got to do this and do that, da, 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 family and boom, 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 boom. So it does come down to how can I make my meals easy so I stay on track. And that's exactly it. Like I go to, if you start creating routines around your eating, then everything makes sense. And that's where people kind of coming back to the eating disorder stuff of like, well, it's always stuck in my mind. I'm always fixated on it. And when I was going through my struggle, that's what I would hear of like, well, it's something you're always going to struggle with. And it's less about always struggling with that. And it's more about if your routines aren't set, you're always
Mm.
thinking about the next meal. Like,
Yeah.
so for even the moms that are out there, if your routines, if you don't have a routine meal, whether your nights are all the same or your days are all the same, you're always going to be thinking about what you're going to eat, how you're going to fix it. Are you going to make it different? So for me, I go to the farmer's market every Saturday. I go to the same vendors. I start with the meat man's. I go to the beef. I go to my chicken lady. I go to the produce people, and then I finish with the mushroom man. And I do those same four. What is that? Same four. I go home. I don't always wash it right away, but I either wash it that Saturday or that Sunday. And I have all my salads already pieced together, pour on my apple cider vinegar to make sure it stays at that lower acidity level. And then my protein is when I'll cook my chicken or my beef. And to cook my chicken, it's a whole chicken because it's cheaper.
Yeah.
I don't buy grocery store meats anymore because I did some meat testing. I found worms in my fish. I
Oh
found
my
weird,
gosh.
questionable byproducts in my beef. So
Literally, yeah. Every expert says, every single one of you says you need to go to the regenerative farmers, you need to go to the farmers market. That's
yeah,
the only food that's real food anymore,
yeah.
it
And
seems.
when you start putting too many middlemen in the mix, the farmers don't care because they don't see the people who
They've
are.
already sold it. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't see the people eating it. But when you're a farmer and you go to the farmer's market, you are representing your product.
Yeah.
And you have people like me who will play 20 questions to figure out like, okay, so how is this actually done? Like, can I trust you? Can I do this? And
What
when you
was the
go
cow's name?
exactly, I'm like, so how many pastures were they moved around during the process? Like, so what did you finish? And they're like, when they have their chest out and they're answering my questions, I'm like, damn.
You can trust him.
Yeah, I'm gonna come back
Yeah.
next week and I'm gonna have a couple more questions. And once I'm out of questions, you've got me hooked. And that's
Yeah.
where all my people are. I'm like, I trust them. I believe them. I trust them. You have me.
Wow. That is really, really good advice. And like there are, it's harder, but there are the resources there. There are farmers markets, and like we should be supporting the local farmers as well. You know, they're the only unpoisoned food that we have access to, so they need our support too. So I love that advice. That's excellent. Do you have any advice for people for like eating out? So you do have these occasions come up where you're on your, maybe your fat loss journey or your weight loss journey, and you've kind of ticked off all the boxes and it's going great, but then a holiday comes up, or I'm going to somebody else's house, or I'm going to a restaurant. What do you do to navigate that to stay on track?
Yeah, good question. So where I'm at right now is I limit eating out. So again, keeping my circle super tiny. I
Mm,
don't have a whole bunch of friends that are like, let's eat out, let's do this, let's catch up, because I don't like how I feel after I eat
yeah.
out and go to these restaurants where, again, the cook is there to make the food taste good. They're not always like eating to fuel yourselves. And I know you said you've been following along some of my Instagram stuff, and people, and it's so funny because I like post it and I'm like, oh yeah, do do do. And then like just within the last couple of days, people are like, you eat so weird. And I'm like, I just eat because I'm like, I'm fueling my cells.
Yeah.
That is my whole philosophy. And when you go to a restaurant, that's not always the situation.
No.
So I try to be very conscious of like, okay, have something green and colorful and protein. I try to stay away from some of the quick, fast carbs, but also then there's that like human instinct of temptation, and that's when I'm like, like I'll try it, but again, I'm not perfect with eating out. So at this
Yeah.
point in my life, I kind of try to avoid it. And similar with holidays, this past holiday season, I'm trying to work on shortening my visits. Whereas historically, it's
Okay.
like an entire day of like opening presents, you're eating all day, you're doing this and doing that. And it's like, that just doesn't work. So actually, this Christmas, I didn't even go over to my sister's house until like 3 o'clock, which historically was
Okay.
like, oh, I'd be up with the kids and I'd be doing that and like making everything. But I know that leads to eating and feeling gunky. And I'm like, I just don't want to feel that. And then at the end of the day, I actually scheduled going to a movie. So I had to leave. Um,
Amazing. So it's like staying aligned with your goals and kind of planning ahead to stay aligned with your
yeah.
goals.
And it's like putting boundaries in place that you know are going to be hard to put in place when you're already in that situation.
Mhm. With your clients, do you kinda operate the kinda 80-20 rule of, like, as you said, that human instinct of, like, "Oh, I kinda fancy a burger when I have one." Do you think that there is the space for the balance there, or is your philosophy more an all or nothing approach?
No, I am 100%. You have to figure out what works for you.
Mm,
And as someone who is not perfect, with like being super strict, because I think that also creates a divide between people, and it would make me unrelatable.
mm.
Also, coming back to one, I don't think I have the discipline like we talked before, but two, it's like, yeah, I would be so unrelatable if I was sitting here just preaching this is how you have to eat and you can't eat, because people would be like, okay, we're done listening to you. It is so unrelatable. It's not attainable for where I am in my life. So we're done with you, Evelyn.
That's yeah, that's true. It's just a realistic view, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's like it's not all or nothing. It couldn't be, or
yeah,
else it'll just end up being nothing in the end because it's too hard to maintain. And your whole thing is sustainable. That's
yeah.
what we're going for.
And I think it comes back to, I think that's where a lot of like influencers, coaches, trainers lose their audience, because they take on this role of like, okay, if I'm fit, then I have to look a certain way and I have to be like this and XYZ. And yes, I would say that I'm very confident and happy with where I'm at, but I also know that like that's not sustainable, and
Mm,
it's too much to ask someone to like live like this, and this is how you do it, this is how you achieve that. But again, the second they kind of like turn their, go to the next phase of life, they can't keep up with that, which comes with a lot of defeating feelings of like, well, I used to look like XYZ. I used to be there. Well, you're different now, which is
yeah.
okay.
Exactly. Okay, I have one more nutrition question, and this question came to me when I was looking at your Instagram posts and your TikTok posts, and then you actually touched on a little bit of I didn't know how I was actually going to bring this up, but you touched on at the start that before you learned about nutrition in college, you suffered with some hair thinning. And Evelyn, your hair, my God, girl, it stands out. So on your Instagram, it was the first thing I saw. I was like, what a mane, gorgeous. Do we have some nutrition tips to get hair like this?
I am so happy. And it's something that I actually hate talking about because I haven't cracked the code. Um,
Okay.
it's because I don't have the answer. I know. So I grew up with this mane of a hair that was way more than what it is today. And this
Wow.
was like, I couldn't do anything to it. I'd get made fun of for it. My brothers, I was called Chewbacca. I was also, I mean, like now I yeah. Like it was like this insecurity that I would always just wear it up in a bun. And it was like kind of I would hide it because I'm like, I can't, like it's just so much. And so my hair started thinning soft or second semester freshman year of college. And I would go to doctors, and this also kind of kickstarted the whole fitness thing because I'm like, why is my hair coming out? And people are like, Evelyn, it's so thick. Like, please stop. You have nothing to worry about. Like, you're almost
Mhm.
rubbing it into other people's faces that you have this gorgeous hair that, like, shut up. And so then I'm deflated because I couldn't talk about it. And still, to your point, like, I don't talk about it because I it's like this lonely feeling of like, dang, I have all this hair that people are always complimenting and talking to me about, but like inside, it's falling out. Like,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that's where I'm trying to figure out this is like the next piece of like, if I can figure out this hair glitch, then I will feel absolutely invincible.
yeah, yeah,
Until then, it's something that like I am trying to sleep more. I'm so my next movement. So to your point of plateau, that it does feel like this plateau of like, good gosh, like what else could I change? Like I feel like I'm like where
doing
I
the most,
yeah,
yeah.
like what do I need to get more strict on? But I everything feels like it's clean. It feel I mean, there's of course small tweaks that I still am trying to work towards, and again,
Mhm.
happy to talk through that. But like then so my next thing is to start learning more about my blood. Um
Wow, yeah, yeah,
and so I'm getting into blood, like reading blood. I've got clients where I'm like, send me your blood. And so I'm learning like what are the small little things that feel off for my hair to keep shedding. But to answer your question, I haven't grown it out this long, probably ever in my life. And now it's kind of like this appreciation that it's like Samson in his strength. Um,
yeah.
that is something that I'm working on. So
Well, it's working. It's looking very good. It looks great on the Instagram for sure. Hey everyone, Chelsea here. I would love to take a moment to introduce you to our app, Yoga Plus. You will gain access to an incredible collection of videos led by top instructors in yoga, fitness, nutrition, and so much more. Download our Yoga Plus app today and get a free 14-day trial.